Hi everyone. Welcome back to our channel, English Rise. This channel exists for people who feel that something in their life is slowly slipping away, not through chaos, not through tragedy, but through silence. If you want to improve your English while developing awareness, discipline, and psychological clarity, consider subscribing. Today's topic is not dramatic. There are no explosions here, no sudden collapse. Because the most destructive habits do not announce themselves. They whisper. They hide inside routine, inside comfort, inside normal life. And that is why they are so dangerous. Part 1. Why the most destructive habits feel normal. Most people believe that if something is ruining their life, they would notice. They expect pain. They expect crisis. They expect obvious warning signs. But real decline rarely looks like disaster. It looks like routine, waking up tired, scrolling without intention, postponing what matters, repeating the same days. Nothing feels urgent, nothing feels broken. And that is exactly the problem. Silent habits survive because they feel familiar. They do not trigger fear. They do not demand attention. They blend into daily life until one day, years have passed, and nothing meaningful has changed. These habits are not aggressive, they are passive, and passivity is invisible. Part 2. The habit of constant distraction and mental escape. One of the most destructive silent habits is constant distraction. Not rest, not recovery, distraction. Distraction is not about enjoyment. It is about escape. The modern mind is rarely still. There is always something playing, something scrolling, something demanding attention. This constant stimulation creates the illusion of movement. But internally, nothing moves. Distraction prevents discomfort. And discomfort is where growth begins. When the mind is never quiet, it never asks difficult questions. Questions like, am I living intentionally? Am I growing or just existing? Is this life aligned with who I could be? Distraction silences these questions, and silence of truth comes at a cost. Part 3. Why distraction feels necessary but is not. Many people say they need distraction to relax, but relaxation and distraction are not the same. Relaxation restores energy. Distraction numbs awareness. Most people are not tired. They are mentally overloaded. So instead of resting deeply, they escape shallowly. Distraction becomes a coping mechanism, a way to avoid boredom, a way to avoid dissatisfaction, a way to avoid silence. But silence is not empty. Silence reveals, and what it reveals is often uncomfortable. So people choose noise, and slowly, they lose direction. Part 4. The habit of avoiding discomfort and responsibility. Another silent habit that ruins lives is avoidance. Avoiding effort, avoiding difficult conversations, avoiding responsibility. Avoidance feels harmless. It feels like postponing. But postponing trains weakness. Every time you avoid discomfort, you send yourself a message. I cannot handle this. Over time, this message becomes belief. Belief becomes identity, and identity shapes behavior. Avoidance does not protect you. It slowly convinces you that you are fragile. Part 5. Comfort as a lifestyle, not a moment. Comfort is not a single decision. It is a lifestyle. Choosing ease over effort. Choosing familiarity over growth. Choosing relief over responsibility. Comfort feels deserved. You worked hard. You need balance. Life is already stressful. These thoughts sound reasonable, but comfort, when repeated daily, creates stagnation. A comfortable life with no challenge slowly loses meaning. Not immediately, gradually. Part 6. The slow erosion of self-trust. One of the most damaging effects of silent habits is the loss of self-trust. People stop believing in their own ability to change, not because they failed, but because they stopped trying. Each broken promise to yourself weakens internal trust, and without self-trust, confidence collapses. No external success can replace it. Part 7. Emotional reactivity as a hidden form of self-sabotage. Many people believe they are being honest when they react emotionally. They say what they feel. They act on impulse. But emotional reactivity creates instability. It damages relationships. It damages focus. It damages reputation. Maturity is not suppression. It is response. Responding requires awareness. Reacting requires none. Silent habit. Loud consequences. Part 8. How these habits quietly shape your future. Habits do not feel powerful. They feel small. But they shape identity. Identity shapes decisions. Decisions shape destiny. The future is not created by big moments. It is created by repeated small behaviors. And silent habits write the future quietly. If this feels familiar, that is not a problem. That is awareness. And awareness is the first interruption of a destructive pattern. Part 9. Procrastination disguised as preparation. One of the most dangerous silent habits is procrastination that looks productive. People tell themselves they are getting ready. They read more. They plan more. They watch more content. They wait for the perfect moment. Preparation feels responsible. It feels intelligent. But when preparation replaces action, it becomes avoidance. This type of procrastination is difficult to detect because it feels like progress. But nothing changes. No skill is built. No habit is formed. No identity is strengthened. Time passes, and potential stays theoretical. Part 10. Why waiting for clarity keeps people stuck. Many people delay action because they lack clarity. They want certainty. They want confidence. They want guarantees. But clarity is not the beginning. It is the result. Clarity comes from movement. When you act, you receive feedback. Feedback creates understanding. Waiting for clarity before acting is like waiting to see before opening your eyes. Life does not reward hesitation. It responds to engagement. Part 11. The silent habit of mental negativity. Another habit that ruins lives quietly is constant negative thinking, not dramatic pessimism, subtle negativity. I'm not good at this. It's probably too late. Others are more talented. This won't work anyway. These thoughts seem harmless, but repetition creates belief. Belief shapes behavior. Behavior shapes outcomes. The mind becomes an environment, and many people live in a mentally toxic space without noticing. Part 12. How negative self-talk becomes identity. When negative thoughts repeat, they stop being questioned. They become truth. People stop saying, "I think I can't." They start saying, "I can't." At this point, identity has been rewritten, and people defend this identity as realism. But it is not realism. It is conditioning. Part 13. The habit of comparing your inner life to other people's external lives. Comparison is inevitable, but constant comparison is destructive. People compare their private struggles to other people's public success. They see confidence but not doubt, results but not sacrifice. This creates discouragement. Discouragement kills momentum, and without momentum, growth stops. Part 14. Why comparison distorts perception of time. Comparison creates urgency. People feel behind. They rush or freeze. Both reactions are harmful. Growth has its own rhythm. When comparison controls perception, people abandon their process. They quit too early or never begin. Part 15. The habit of saying yes when you should say no. Another silent habit is lack of boundaries. People say yes to avoid conflict. They say yes to avoid disappointment. They say yes to avoid being misunderstood. But every unnecessary yes is a hidden no to something important. Energy is limited. Without boundaries, it is wasted. Part 16. How boundaryless living creates resentment. When people constantly say yes, they become overwhelmed. Overwhelm becomes frustration. Frustration becomes resentment. Resentment poisons relationships. Boundaries are not rejection, they are protection. Part 17. The silent habit of neglecting the body. Many people treat the body as secondary. Sleep is sacrificed. Movement is postponed. Nutrition is ignored. These habits feel unrelated to purpose or success. They are not. The body carries the mind. Low energy limits ambition. Without physical care, mental strength collapses. Part 18. Why physical neglect becomes mental weakness. The mind does not operate alone. Poor sleep affects focus. Poor movement affects mood. Poor nutrition affects resilience. People blame motivation. But the foundation is broken. Energy is not optional. It is structural. Part 19. The habit of avoiding solitude and inner dialogue. Many people avoid being alone. They fill silence with noise, music, podcasts, videos. Solitude feels uncomfortable because it reveals truth. But without solitude, there is no self-knowledge. People borrow identities from the world instead of building their own. Part 20. Why avoiding solitude stops emotional maturity. Emotional maturity requires reflection. Reflection requires stillness. Avoiding stillness keeps people reactive. They respond to life instead of directing it. Direction requires awareness. Awareness requires silence. Part 21. The habit of staying in toxic environments too long. Another silent habit is staying where growth is impossible. Toxic workplaces, unhealthy relationships, limiting social circles. Familiarity creates attachment. People stay because leaving feels risky, but staying costs more. Environment shapes behavior. Behavior shapes destiny. Part 22. Why normalizing dissatisfaction is dangerous. Many people normalize dissatisfaction. This is just how life is. Everyone feels this way. It could be worse. These thoughts reduce urgency. Urgency creates change. Without urgency, nothing moves. Acceptance becomes surrender. Part 23. The silent abandonment of personal dreams. Most people do not kill their dreams. They abandon them quietly. They stop talking about them. They stop working on them. They stop believing in them. Dreams fade through neglect, not failure. Part 24. How years pass without notice. Silent habits distort time. Days blend together. Weeks feel identical. Years disappear. People wake up one day and realize life moved faster than expected. This realization is painful, but avoidable. Part 25. The moment awareness returns. At some point, awareness returns. A moment of clarity, a feeling of dissatisfaction, a question that cannot be ignored. This moment is important. It is not comfortable, but it is powerful. Part 26. Why awareness is both painful and liberating. Awareness removes illusion. Illusion protects comfort, but illusion also traps. When awareness appears, people feel exposed. But exposure creates choice. Choice creates change. Part 27. Breaking silent habits through small interruptions. Change does not require dramatic transformation. It requires interruption, small changes, small acts of resistance, choosing silence, choosing effort, choosing honesty. Interrupt the pattern. Repeat. Part 28. Rebuilding self-trust slowly. Self-trust returns through action, kept promises, consistent effort, no shortcuts. Trust is rebuilt the same way it was lost, gradually. Part 29. The power of conscious daily choices. Life is shaped by daily decisions, not intentions, not plans, choices. Conscious choices replace silent habits. Part 30. A different future is quietly possible. Change does not arrive loudly. It arrives quietly, through consistency, through awareness, through discipline. A different life is built silently. Final reflection. Silence can destroy or build. Silence is not neutral. It either hides decay or supports growth. The difference is awareness. If this video felt uncomfortable, that is a sign of honesty. This channel exists to expose what is hidden and build clarity. If you want to continue this journey of awareness and growth, consider subscribing to English Rise. Remember, your life is not ruined by dramatic mistakes. It is shaped by silent habits. and silent habits can be changed.